further ado, here is our guest for this evening, up from the lower Baltimore, upper DC area. This is Jeff Krulik and John Heyn. Please give them a hand.
Hello, Philadelphia.
This is cool.
This is great.
And thank you, Eric. Thank you for having us to the Philadelphia Mausoleum of Contemporary Art. Did I get it right? Okay.
Of course.
Cool.
Mama.
Oh, good. You're going to take that off. That's smart.
So yeah, we drove up from. We're in the DC. We're in the Maryland suburbs of DC, and so you're going to see a lot of stuff that's kind of Maryland centric tonight. But that's okay. We actually have a couple things we shot here in Philadelphia that we're going to show also. So we're pretty excited about that.
Couple?
Yeah,
Oh,
a couple
yeah.
things. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
definitely.
Yeah,
you're gonna dig that.
John and I, real quickly, we started collaborating about 1985, and I'll try to make the long story short. I was running a community television studio, public access. I was 25, and I graduated college in University of Maryland, and then started selling cable television, but door to door. And then the company I was working for promoted me to running the studio, which was great because I had a background in college radio, and that was what my thing was. And I really wanted to, to be able to then work. I was doing volunteer community television. I got to then, I took that college radio mentality, anything goes mentality, into the world of TV, community television. And this was, like I say, I was 25. It was 1985, and John and I met because of we had a mutual interest in old movie theaters. And we were both working on similar video projects. Actually, John had completed one. I was still working on one. We met, became fast friends, and I had him out to my studio, and kind of the rest is, you're going to see it here tonight.
Sure. Yeah, I went to film school, Northwestern University. I moved back to the Maryland area. This is some crazy feedback on this thing here. It's all right. It's appropriate. And I was trying to make my way as an indie filmmaker in the D.C. area. I had my first job out of college was working as a production assistant on a John Waters film. So that was like my dream come true. But then I had to, kind of fall back into just the build yourself up. I couldn't, I went to D.C. and started working at a dub house, making VHS dubs, basically. And that's where I was when I did Heavy Metal Parking Lot with Jeff. And but we've made it. We're thrilled, to be able to show it here. 26 years later, we're here more or less, and we've got a canon of films. I guess we're going to try to go through some of them tonight. So we should really get things up and running real soon right now.
Eric, you got do you have something queued up? Should we introduce it or?
Please, we're starting with past appearances.
Oh, very good. Yes, here you go, John. There's
Okay.
our schedule. What this was is we're going to start with something that Eric wanted us to start with, and I think it's fitting. We have this on our DVD. Heavy Metal Parking Lot, in case you haven't seen it, is only 15 minutes long. We've been very fortunate to have a good run with this video, and we made a DVD. The DVD has over 2 hours of content, and one of the pieces on the DVD is our previous screening in Philadelphia, and that's what we're going to show you right now.
It didn't go that well. It was fun.
I haven't seen that in 10 years. I think 10 years ago.
I think
that was 10 years.
Yeah, we were expecting a nice sit-down chat with a nice, round table discussion like this, but it didn't work out that well.
He's kidding. He knew what it was.
I was deluded.
We were.
No, we were going to show Heavy
First and last time we did
Neil Diamond Parking Lot. We had we were going to show a lot of stuff, but I think they couldn't even handle Heavy Metal Parking Lot.
Well, they're there to see the Black Sabbath cover band,
right.
But it made sense to us after it all went to hell. Why it didn't work. But yeah, I can't believe it was 10 years ago. Now, right? I mean, it said October.
Yeah, right.
2002.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go, an anniversary screening. So yeah, I mean, we've screened in all type of venues. That's the nice thing about this. We've had some of our best screenings in bars and nightclubs, and so we thought that would go swimmingly, but it didn't go that great. We screened in film festivals, and we screened at we've screened at the other MoMA also up in New York, and so we've had lots of different environments to screen it in. So it's
but
kind
don't
of
screen it at a place like that
on a Friday night.
On a Friday night with a Black Sabbath cover band, or just in all fairness, I mean, we had like a 45-minute program. We should have just kept it to the heavy metal parking lot. But anyway, thank you for indulging us with that, and our return to Philadelphia. I think Eric had contacted us a while back, and he was familiar with a lot of the work that we have done. And John and I have collaborated on several different things, and Heavy Metal Parking Lot, we've been very fortunate to have, in many ways, staked our career on that. Eric had a collection of my work, that is a lot of different films, including the next one, which is somebody who influenced actually both John and myself, and I became a big fan of Chuck Statler. He was the filmmaker who worked with Devo, and Devo's act really hinged it was a very visual act, of course, and so much of their early period was it was born out of these films that were made. They were from Kent State, and the films they made really kind of defined their act and eventually got them signed. It got, they were part of their concert touring, and the films were how I discovered Devo. And Chuck Statler, his films would play at before MTV. The only way to see these kind of music films was at museums, and I discovered them at the Hirshhorn Museum in Washington, D.C. And anyway, but this next film is going to be the film that, personally for me, it was really the one that kind of rearranged my head. And it's from Chuck Statler, and it's called Ain't We Having Fun?
Right, we're going to roll right into your public access work right after that.
I think so,
like,
right.
Yeah, okay.
There's going to be both. It's going to go from that into, again, John and I met, I was running a public access studio, and I said, John, why don't you come out and work with, come out, free equipment, free TV, do whatever you want. And again, this is how Heavy Metal Parking Lot, it came out of that kind of, that period.
So as a filmmaker back then, in order to get, cameras weren't as ubiquitous or as cheap as they are now. So to get your hands on halfway decent semi-professional equipment, you'd have to maybe glom onto a public access TV studio and maybe try to do something subversive in there and kind of skirt around the rules and, that they had there. Usually it was run by a kind of a strict person. Public access studios were, but Jeff was as kind of freewheeling as you could get. So that was really fortunate for me to meet him and kind of pull off some of this stuff under his auspices. And Jeff really got away with murder there.
I did. John and I had, around 1990, we created a film festival, it was our own, some form of catharsis. The job had ended, and I just wanted to feel good about myself and all the work we did, and John and I had done. So we created something called the Don't Quit Your Day Job Film and Video Festival, and we had it at the Kennedy Center. That's where the American Film Institute Theater was, and that's what that was. I cut that public access tribute together for that, and that was in 1990. That was the last public showing we swore that we were going to do for Heavy Metal Parking Lot, and because we felt like it had run its course, because I think that's what we're going to be showing next, Heavy Metal Parking Lot.
Right. Yeah, we're going to show that next. Just saying, we used the same public access equipment that these people did to do that. We really had no intention of putting this on public access, though. We had something, we didn't know what we wanted to do with it, but we thought we were creating art, basically. No, we weren't creating art. No, but we were creating something beyond Timothy from the Bottom of the Sea, I think. Although, who knows? It's not for us to judge. But it was shot. It was shot with this equipment, edited on this equipment, the public access equipment. Never screened on public access.
Yeah, actually, no. You took it. You took it to the job you had.
Yeah.
We used my studio. We used my public access equipment. You're right. I mean, John had the idea. Going back to 1986, John came to me because we were collaborating, and he had the idea to do, he thought it'd be neat to kind of tape metalheads. We were not metalheads. We were not into the, we were not fans of the music per se. We weren't dismissive. I mean, we never had any grudge against heavy metal music. We just, at the time it was, you knew about it from, there was a lot of hair metal was real popular. MTV was playing it. It was really, ever present.
It was mainstream. It was on the radio.
It was mainstream, and it was on the radio. You're right, and it would fill arenas. The bands, and so, but John, you had the idea.
Yeah, prior to that, we shot a couple music videos, but this was something we were always in search of a new subject matter. Produce a documentary about something that hasn't really been done yet. So this was something that we thought, we did it on a lark, certainly, but we're certainly, it was kind of cool that it kind of took off from there. But it was shot, like we were explaining earlier, we only shot about an hour's worth of material, and Heavy Metal Parking Lot is only 15 minutes, but it's...
And we shot on it, it was 3/4-inch tape, in case you're not familiar with the format. This is what it was, 3/4-inch tape. So you can imagine how big the cameras were. The cameras that in fact, there it is, Metrovision. It says Metrovision. That was the company that I worked for and used their equipment.
And their tape.
And their tape.
Sounds like really.
And so the 3/4-inch tape, it was just John. John had the idea, and it was Judas Priest were coming, the Capitol Center. Well, let me just ask, who has seen Heavy Metal Parking Lot here? Okay, well, great. I hope I don't know if you've seen it in on a screen, in a big screen, but I hope the experience is as enjoyable as seeing it however you did see it. And if you haven't seen it, I hope you like it. But the thing is, it was done. Again, just we weren't sure what we were going to get, but John and I were aspiring documentarians, and I had the gear. It was a Saturday. John just picked we were available, and it was Judas Priest at the Capitol Center. If you're not familiar with, this was the arena outside of Washington, D.C., the Maryland arena.
Kind of like the Spectrum, I think.
Right, right.
Comparable to that. So
about 18,000 seats, and that's where everybody, it was built in '73. It's been torn down, but it's where all the concerts were, all the big acts, and Judas Priest could fill an arena, and they were touring, and we didn't know from Judas Priest. We just knew that they were there. We were lucky that it was Judas Priest because their music still holds up, and we just paid our admission like any other concert goer, only we had this camera gear, and we got out and wandered around, and so the rest is, we only used 3 20-minute tapes, so we only had an hour of footage. Went back we didn't see the concert, of course. We went back to my studio. We looked at the footage. I came up with the title. John, it just kind of popped into my head. John took the footage, went back to you were working at the Dub House, right?
Yeah, working at the Dub House.
And you edited it at the Dub House.
Kind of moonlighted this thing on the side.
Right,
yeah.
right. And you did it at the where you were working, and then several months later, we premiered it at a nightclub in D.C. So, and then, like I say, 1990, we stopped showing it. And but we used to give out copies to people who wanted it. We didn't have any. You couldn't really screen this. It was a video, and there were very few outlets for screening in a theater. We wanted to be filmmakers. We wanted to be documentary filmmakers. We had, and our goal was to do that and be able to show our work in theaters. You couldn't with video. No festivals would program video. Very limited opportunities. They didn't
have video projectors back then.
Exactly.
It was just kind of another, technological error.
And we didn't have any rights to the music and whatnot. We ended up giving it out. But because we gave to anybody who wanted it, we had record stores in the area and friends, we show it to their friends and just kind of got a word of mouth going. And then by 1990, after a few screenings, we were like, that's it. Our friends are going to kill us if they make them watch it again. So, but then several years later, it had gotten out to the West Coast, and we can go on and on more about that if you'd like. I think what this little collection has...
We've got the whole oeuvre here.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of parking lot here.
You want to let it speak for itself?
Well, we'll let them speak for themselves. Heavy Metal Parking Lot begat some sequels, and you'll see them here, through its 25-year run, basically. So we'll see something all the way up to last year, basically, in this next set here. So great.
All right, well.
Roll it, Eric.
Yeah, that was quite the parking lot odyssey from 1986 up to last year, or 2010. We premiered Heavy Metal Picnic, and it's on DVD now, but we put that out. It's Heavy Metal Picnic's about a 66-minute film about a field party from 1985 in Maryland, that we kind of tell the story of this party that was it took place in Potomac, Maryland, that these people videotaped it, and it was just kind of wild bacchanal right in the middle of all these McMansions, and it was just, it made the evening news. And I found somebody told me they had the footage, and I was just at that point really enamored with any footage from that time period of metal, partying and metalheads, and so I found the footage and then just kind of made a documentary around it, the people who put the party on, and the bands that played there, and so from 1986 Heavy Metal Parking Lot to right about now Heavy Metal Picnic, with Neil Diamond Parking Lot and Harry Potter Parking Lot thrown in there.
All roads lead back to Heavy Metal Parking Lot. We couldn't help but indulge ourselves sometimes, I think. So, this is before the days of viral video, YouTube and everything. Heavy Metal Parking Lot started to pick up a little bit of steam. It's just a local phenomenon for us. We screened it in the Washington, D.C. area in the late 80s, early 90s. And then in, 93 or something, I got a call from California, from Sofia Coppola. And that was Francis Ford Coppola's daughter. So she had found my name. She had seen the film and found my name just in in the White Pages directory, I guess. Gave me a call. She was a big fan of it. She had found it out in L.A. It was being available for rent at a cult video shop out in L.A. And she wanted to use it in a cable TV series she was producing at the time called High Octane. So I said sure, because I was pleased to meet her acquaintance and everything. So that
the show never went anywhere, but that was the first time we had any idea that this had beyond our community, that people actually were aware of it in this case on the West Coast. And then we found out eventually, like Nirvana had it on their tour bus, and people were like, really this, a lot of the alternative rock community, if you will, they really embraced it, and people I think the Breeders were mentioning it. I mean, it started showing up in like Spin magazine mentions, and it just was totally unbeknownst to us that it was getting out there. So when we finally got wind, John called the video store Mondo Video, and they were all very happy to hear from us and said, oh yeah, this person rented it and that person rented it, and a lot of musicians were getting turned on to it. So that was our cue to get it out of mothballs and to start showing it, and then we hatched the idea. Again, John thought we should do a sequel, and picked Neil Diamond, and that was he was coming back to the same arena. It was by that time known as the US Air Arena, and we wanted to do something 180 degrees in the opposite direction. We wanted just to go as far as we could in the opposite direction, and again, we just really we weren't patently Neil Diamond fans, but we weren't again dismissive of it. We just were curious. And I mean, how can you not like Neil Diamond's music? And it's funny because it really hadn't become as hip as he became eventually. But what was neat about that experience is John ran into his Cub Scout den mother. She was actually the woman who came off the bus and running that bus trip. John's like, I know her, and it was your, right? Am I right? Or was it Cub Scout? Or?
Cub Scout, yeah, something like the Cub Scout den mother, yeah.
My brain's
from the old neighborhood, yeah.
Okay.
The other neat thing was Neil Diamond embraced this. He actually got wind of it.
Well, I'm sorry, let me finish that point.
Oh.
Is that she gave us tickets for the concert. There's no way we would have gone in to see it. We weren't going to pay money to go. But when we were going to leave, which is what we did after when we shot Heavy Metal Parking Lot. We wanted and left. thankfully, because what was
Lenny.
Lenny, yeah,
Her name was Lenny.
Yeah, she was kind enough. She had extra tickets because she ran that bus trip, and gave us tickets, so we got to go see the show, which was cool, and that allowed us to stay there afterwards because I don't think we would have stuck around. So that's kind of gave it a whole different dimension. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but what were you saying?
But yeah, Neil Diamond found out about it, and you know,
1996.
Yeah,
we shot it in 96,
yeah.
exactly
10 years
10
after
years
Heavy Metal
after,
Parking Lot,
right.
so,
well, you know, Neil Diamond didn't find out about it himself.
Right.
His publicist found out about it because we got a nod in the New York Times. There was a mention in the New York Times magazine. I don't even know how they got wind of it, maybe from the New York Underground Film Festival, because at this point, we were starting to show stuff out of D.C. So there was a bit of a blip. And at the New York Underground Film Festival,
his publicist
showed up. You know, and we're like, oh,
we're a little nervous because, you know, I think I had about
happen?
12 Neil Diamond songs in that, unlicensed.
Do you really know? No, we hadn't made it yet.
No.
We were, in this case, I took the liberty of putting in Butthole Surfers music because we hadn't completed it yet.
Right.
And it was just, I was just throwing all this stuff in there. And truthfully, well, I just wasn't, we weren't able to complete it. You completed it. You edited it later, and you weren't able, we didn't have it ready at that point. So I was really weirded out at that when she came up and said she was Neil Diamond's publicist, because I'm like, oh, great, you know. And, but turns out she really dug it. And then, I guess, what are you saying?
We didn't get a cease and desist, which
right.
is like our, you know, our backstory for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Avoiding a cease and desist.
So what happened then was after you did complete it, she had said, hey, when you finish it, send it along.
Right. So what did I do? I can't.
I don't know. You put all the songs in there.
Yeah,
you made the real video. And
I knew there's no way I could license it. You know, it was Neil Diamond. It would be, you know, a couple $1 million to license 12 of his hit songs in there.
But thousand is too much. You know, we couldn't afford any of this.
Right.
You know, we weren't going to pay anything. We didn't have any money.
The short story is that he gave us permission and licensing rights for theatrical rights, or no, festival rights for a year.
Festival rights.
For film festival rights for a year. Anyway, so that was a big deal. And I got a, you know, letter from his publishing company and his lawyer.
You really think Neil Diamond saw it?
No, he's probably never seen it.
Right.
No, absolutely not. Never. But anyway, so that's more than Judas Priest, who's never really, you know, ignored us basically the whole time. So.
Well, you know, we never had. Yeah, Judas Priest. They're on record, reference it. People ask them about it, like in interviews, and they acknowledge it and are very complimentary. But have they sat and watched the whole thing? Probably not.
No.
I don't know.
It's a big,
time commitment.
Dedication,
16 minutes is a big time commitment.
Right.
Well, oh, sure, go ahead. Yeah, if anybody, at this point, if you have, no, please.
All right. I'm a frustrated film critic, and you laugh at documentaries, and you see this. I mean, the obvious impulse is to be like, oh my God, what a bunch of mooks. These are the guys that parked in my high school parking lot with Firebirds, and we laughed and shit. But at one point, after all these times you've seen it as a documentarian, you're supposed to disassociate yourself, right, with the film target. Mm-hmm. At what point did you guys, after a million times to see it, do you start to sort of like empathize and say, you know what, Glenn Birdie chicks, you know, she's living her life and she's having a great time at that point, where you start to kind of love them as characters?
They are all characters for us. In fact, we call some of the people that we've run into and tracked down over the years. We've tracked down a fair amount of them. And some of the standout people who have the great lines in it, even if they're up there for less than a minute. We call them the marquee characters. And
well, I think
they're our heroes, you know.
I think they've always felt like family to us. I mean, especially after we've gotten to really see it a lot. I mean, we really we know every frame of this video, so we really have a great deal of empathy and I don't know, just fondness and, you know, family. I mean, we never have felt anything about them other than affection.
I mean, in '86, you guys aren't metalheads, right? So
no.
As far from that as possible.
Yeah. So are you guys sort of like listening to the Pixies?
Yeah, we were punk rockers. Yeah, we were into. Well.
Punk rockers. What's a punk rocker? You're not a. We were. I'm sorry. We were. What were you listening to?
I don't know, roots music, you know, rhythm and blues, punkabilly, rockabilly, psychobilly, punk rock.
Yes, the Cramps.
The Cramps.
Yeah, the Cramps.
Elvis Costello, Talking Heads.
Right.
You know,
Right. So you
Bad
guys
Brains.
really
You know, all you
you
know.
have to be sort of like, oh my God.
No, I think it was, we never felt, like, I don't recall ever feeling any kind of animosity or anything negative. I mean, it just, because when you get right down to it, it's rock and roll, you know? And in some cases, it's stuff that you just, I mean, we were rock fans. We really were. I mean, it just was stuff that we were, metal wasn't anything that we necessarily had on our record collection. But, I mean, I loved, you know, I mean, whatever. If AC/DC's Shook Me All Night Long came on the radio, I would turn it up, you know? And that was a lot better than a lot of other stuff that was might have been coming out from bands that I did, quote, like. So who knows? It really was a subjective thing. However, it just really was an opportunity that we kind of capitalized on. And I think because we all identified, you know, we went to concerts. We clearly came up. I mean, Bad Company was the first concert I ever saw at that arena. You know, I saw, I mean, who everybody played there. It was just, that was the arena. And so, but as far as like these characters, you knew them. You didn't have to be them. They might have been related to you. They might have been people you knew intimately.
They were in your study hall. Yep,
Exactly.
yep.
They were in
They
your high school. They were
you know.
your, you knew them, and we knew them. So, I don't know, it felt kind of,
How about years later? Are you like guys freaked when Halford comes out? The implications, like laughing at the chick, like, I'll joke his bones. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're like, Halford's
Yeah.
out. Ew. Did you laugh about that?
well, I mean, I don't think we ever really, I mean, we love it when people laugh with it because we feel, it's funny. I mean, we definitely went, I mean, clearly, if you look at the outtakes, we're taking the stuff that's funny. I mean, we're not taking the real sober, serious statements about metal. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you have a
I mean,
question there?
I
Ray?
like it now. It's yeah.
Yeah, we like,
It's a,
yeah.
What are
well-
your thoughts about you track down Zebra Man and he turns out to be a total lame ass? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah.
Well, what's being on the DVD? We actually do have. We tracked down. John mentioned we've met a lot of these people who were on the video. We have. We've tracked them down, or in most cases they've found us, and so we made a video which is on the DVD, and it's also on Snag Films. Just it's online. You can see it online. You know, Heavy Metal Parking Lot. Where are they now? Alumni. Blah blah blah. But that everybody loves Zebra Man. He's known as Zebra Man, and he is really, you know, I mean, it's great because these people have like 10 seconds or less on camera, and you really know them though. They have great lines. None of this was stuff we fed them. They just were being themselves on camera. And John, you know, got the great sound bites when he edited it, and in the case of Zebra Man. Why don't you have anything you want to?
I don't know. I think it was just, we tracked him down 15 years later. It's just kind of quaint. The guy was totally clueless. He had no idea he was in this video. I mean, you know, the nerve of that, you know, he was just totally out of the loop. So maybe that, you know, I was kind of impressed with that he became you know, a country music loving plumber, you know. And God bless him, you know.
It's like a friend of mine said, we own that we own that more than he does. I mean, everybody likes Heavy Metal Parking Lot, and he just was very nonplussed about it, and that was the only time we've ever met him and had any interaction. We did have to track him down because somebody said, you know, just from some research, we've deduced who he was and where he lived. He was very gracious to us. Cameras were rolling. And we showed it to him for the first time. Gave him copies, and that was it.
But yeah.
From a statutory rape man. Wait.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's Ron Halford. I'm ready to rock. He's in that too.
Yeah, we tracked him down. He was one of the marquee
David
characters.
Helvey.
Yeah, the statutory rape guy.
He's a great guy.
He soft-pedaled that. We let him get away with it.
Yeah, he's a pal of ours. And he actually is a... no, it's all right. He kind of explains it on that video. That
you know, a lot of these guys are still living the life, which is pretty cool. You know, 40-year-olds and living the life. He's an aspiring rock musician, and
He has a band. He's played. He does a song actually on that little video I mentioned. We did a video. We spotlighted David. He explains that he was friends with Dawn, and
I think it was a lot more innocent than it appeared. You know, it just came over a little bit wrong there.
A little.
But yeah.
Yeah. But
he was kind of forced to join the armed forces, you know, because of, you know, that sort of behavior, I think, at the time. I don't know. But anyway, he's doing great, and I think Dawn is like a nurse in Colorado or something like that. You know?
Well, anyway, yeah, they really were. They were family friends. It wasn't true love, but it was great on camera material, and certainly memorable. But the you know, and Michelle from Reston, Virginia, we have her on video.
Yeah.
She still looks great, and she's married to a metal guitarist, and she's a dental hygienist and raises dogs, you know, show dogs, and has, you know, a lot of people have a real. It's cool because everybody's turned out okay and has, you know, just made a nice life for themselves. And we've got a couple other. We've met some other people. We have probably positive IDs of about 20 to 25 people now, and so and one day it'd be fun to have a real reunion.
One of these days, try to get.
Question over there?
Have you ever found Graham?
Graham and
Yeah.
Graham and Dope. He's great. Errol, you know, we just made contact. We've never had any. Do we know Graham and Dope?
Yeah, we do. I've talked to him. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we did. Yeah. He lives on the eastern shore of Maryland. He's in the home remodeling business. Although the last I checked with him, because that field had slowed down, he was working Home Depot. But he really, you know, and he said he got chubby also. He was, you know, one of those incredibly skinny kids in that, you know. We were all skinny, had a lot of hair back then, all of us, and no tats, believe it or not.
Right,
Like,
there really weren't any
unbelievable,
tattoos.
really. But, yeah, he's doing good. And
We also just met. We made contact with the guy who goes, you know, he goes, I'd get in line for that one. The guy in the hat, he's standing next to Graham and Dope. We just found him, and it was just through just some twittering. I picked up. Hey, he's you know, he just actually found out about it a few years ago. It's like a lot of these people don't really know about it. They're not aware. And so there's a guy in that Michelle crowd who's from Reston, Virginia. He's in the music industry in California. So this is a real badge of honor that he's in this. People love it. So, and Jay Hewen, he was one of the first persons we met who actually was in the video. But it's been back to your question. It's we feel real kinship with them. We feel real fondness for everybody. And we love to be able to meet people who are in it. And just kind of, we're all part of this family. And I still get a kick out of watching it on the big screen because you can really see so much of what's going on in the background and what's happening in that whole, you know, just that whole milieu, that whole, the frame, just because it was something that you just, I don't know, it's lost now. We were very fortunate to have the video. You know, and Robbie, the fella at the end who goes, Rob Halford, I don't know about you. With the Star of David. He became a huge bluegrass fan and plays a mean mandolin and is now studying to be an Orthodox rabbi. He got, he's very Orthodox now and actually huge beard, and he's studying to be a rabbi. And there's a video, if you just search, you know, Robbie or Heavy Metal Parking Lot, you know, Orthodox Rabbi on Google, you'll find the article. Okay. Right, I mean, you will, right. And what happened was, you know, we were so sick to death of talking about this that, like, when we were 20, whenever this anniversary came up for the 25th, we asked this one reporter, why don't you talk to, here's an angle, here's something that you can maybe get something out of. So it was cool that Robbie was able to, you know, get some coverage, because I think that's a really neat story. Yeah.
Another observation. I guess I'm an old man, sort of. So I mean, I'm a little older than those guys, and I noticed that, you know, back then it's like everybody rushed to the camera, right? I mean,
right.
Camera. Now, so many kids are so used to being filmed on, like, now my kids have the phones and the eye things and all that shit. Where people are just like, oh, you know, I mean, I would shy away from it. Like, I don't want to be seen doing But like back then, it was like, that doesn't happen all the time. So everybody just rushes to the camera. They want to be seen. It's sort of cool in a way. It's like
Right.
You could never do this now.
You couldn't do it now. So it was a whole different era, and a whole different approach.
Plus, it would over with in a week. After that, after something like this went viral, it'd be done. I mean, this thing. I mean, back then, because this was. I mean, like I say, we stopped screening it in like 1990, roughly. And then it just kind of took on a life of its own. But
yeah, that's it. Just kind of came up in the time before viral videos. So we're fortunate because of that, because there still seems to be an interest in it, which always, we're pleased by that, and it's surprising actually that it's got a little.
I think
a half-life. We're gonna
You said Sophia Coppola talked about seeing it. Was she the first time that you guys were like, wow, people actually have seen this and it's kind of blowing up? Because I read the article about Nirvana. It's on their tour bus.
Yeah.
And they're all watching. All of a sudden, I read that they're like playing it for like Mudhoney and Sonic Youth, and all of a sudden, bam, and it's like going out. And everybody's like, wow, because I heard about it in like '96. I think I read it on Spin or something. I was like, wow, this sounds kind of cool,
Yeah, I mean,
that was the first of it.
Yeah,
it just kind of trickled in the 90s.
John, you got a phone call just out of the blue, and just she had looked it up, or she got it from information. John's name, is on the.
So we worked that angle a little bit, trying to get in there. It's like I know her husband at the time, Spike Jones, was a big fan of it, so I wrote him letters and tried to get him to.
Well, we didn't. That was the first time that we had any clue that there was anything going on outside of just anything. We just had retired it. And that was the very first. Somebody had actually taken, we kind of have traced this back to the person who was our Johnny Appleseed, if you will, who really took the copies and got it to all sorts of different, particular camps of, in the rock community. And as far as Sofia Coppola, she got it from Mondo Video, and that's this cult video store that was renting video in L.A. So, and nothing came of that TV series, and that was the only contact we ever had with her. But it was good to have some, it helps to have that, kind of contact, even if you just, use name dropping. But it has been this story's, a good calling card, I guess. But it's still, we haven't made any great coin from it, and it's not, but hey, many years from now, exactly, and hey, it's better to be known for something than nothing. So we're real pleased and very grateful that it's taken us here this many years later.
Where were you guys in '86 when you make it?
We were in our 20s.
I was 25. We were mid-20s, and so here we are 26 years later. But it's and we're pleased that it still packs some kind of, there's some interest. I think one thing that helps it is because it is Judas Priest and their music is still, kind of the anthems. This stuff really holds up. That's a big plus. Also, the artists that are talked about, Metallica, Madonna, they're still viable and vital, and that stuff still, so there's a real currency, because it could have been any other band, and I don't think it would have had that, might not have had the shelf life. And was there a question?
Yeah, that actually segues pretty well. I'm wondering if the response to the video has been notably different as your audience has transitioned from being people who were kind of aware of that, as you said, as part of mainstream culture, to people more like us who, were small children when this was made.
Well, it exists as a time capsule now, and it's neat to watch it in that respect. And, I see comments on YouTube as well, like, people say, hey, those are my parents up on the screen, at 7 minutes in, which is pretty cool, pretty astounding. So, it's just, I don't know if that really quite answers your question, but yeah.
Because of the nostalgia factor that we don't actually associate with, or has it been just growing?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's a timelessness, there's universality, there's archetypes in rock and roll that I think just present themselves and they still hold up to this day, which kind of astounds me, but that's just why it still has an appeal to this day. Yeah. I think it works really good as a time capsule, though.
Right, and I know people have said, people say it's being taught. Some people show it in classes, and and it's all very flattering to us that it would actually be thought of in some. And I mean, you can laugh at it, laugh with it. You can study it, and it's just we're lucky that we had these cameras and we were out there recording something that maybe not everybody was recording. That kind of thing. Hey, well, I mean, this was great. Y'all were really wonderful to stick it out with us tonight and to go along for this ride. I want to thank you, John, for always putting up with me.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
26 years. No, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate the chance to share it with an audience, and especially it's fun to be out of where we live, just to. And yeah, just thank you. Are there any questions? Anybody? I mean, if you have think of anything later, we're online, jeffkrulik.com, and John has the heavymetalparkinglot.com website. And thank you, Eric, for having us up here. Really appreciate it. It's great. Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
What's next, Jeff?
What's next? Well, I'm working on something called Led Zeppelin Played Here. It's about the kind of emerging rock concert industry, focusing on the mid-Atlantic and primarily where the Maryland area, where there's a Led Zeppelin's first concert was allegedly at this gymnasium on the night of Richard Nixon's first inauguration, and about 50 people were there, and nobody believes it happened. So that's. But it's really a bigger story than just about Led Zeppelin. So, what about you? What are you working on?
I don't know. I couldn't tag along and help you with Led Zeppelin.
No, we still have, the thing is the parking lot's, something we've still got, I guess, some currency with, and there's still, there's a Japanese version. I think you had to work, is Chris, he didn't make it. Some guy, was gonna, there's supposed to be, believe it or not, they just released it in England. The DVD. Yeah. So we've been getting some good press in England, and I think they're targeting. I mean, whatever.
I would like to see the subtitles.
Yeah, really, they subtitle it. So anyway, thank you. Thanks a lot, and we'll stick around.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Last question?
No, there aren't any. It's been a marathon.
Yeah.
We've kept you here for almost 11 o'clock, so I'll be the first off the stage.
Okay.